you told us about that Lamborghini. What's it called? Centenario.
Let's not worry about what it's called.
Okay.
It's a Centurino.
Okay.
Centurino.
So my car is crazier.
All right.
So mine is the
gonna be
McLaren P1 GTR edition. So, okay, so we all know about the regular P1, right? So there was still only 375 units made, which is...
basically a Corolla by this stage. It's so common. So common.
So the regular P1, 375 units. So what did you have? You had 40 of those
40,
Lambos.
Yeah.
And the price, it's really hard because I'm basically transferring it into Australian dollars. But then it's not directly transferable because there's so many more taxes and charges here. So I'm going to say 1.5 million Australian, but I think if you were to buy here in Australia, it would have been more like 2 something.
Yeah.
900 horsepower. So this is a hypercar, obviously, I should mention. So it has the aid of an electric motor to still a whopping massive twin-turbo V8. And so its rivals, if you follow the space, are obviously the Porsche 918 and the Ferrari LaFerrari. Both hypercars came out at a similar time. So what I'm talking about today is the GTR edition, which is the track-only version. Now, we haven't... Sorry, there's some music playing. I'll continue.
Someone's having a yacht party.
There is a yacht party happening somewhere.
Yes, we are at the marina.
Unfortunately, we're not at that party.
Yeah. Let's
Anyway,
walk past it on the way out.
We'll find it at the way out.
Yeah.
So what I was going to say was we haven't really specified whether the cars we talk about in this podcast have to be road legal. So...
No, definitely not.
So, well, there's someone who makes a road legal version, so I think we're fine.
Okay.
So, what was I saying? So you can get the GTR edition. So the normal edition, I transferred or translated the cost to be 1.5 million Australian dollars. If you were to buy the GTR edition, have a guess. 1.5 million is the standard edition.
The GTR version. I'm going to say
track only.
It's so hard. It's just once the numbers get up there, they're just ridiculous. And
what do you think?
I'm going to go with 3.2 million.
4 million.
Okay.
4 million. It's not road legal, and 58 were built globally. So 375 of the standard P1s, 58 of the global. Of the GTR edition.
It's crazy to have it's just a car with a standard version and a special version.
Yeah.
And there's still less than 500 of them.
Yeah.
In
it's
total.
nuts. Okay, so distinguishable differences are 80 horsepower more than the standard P1, which brings it really close to 1,000 horsepower in the twin-turbo V8 with the electric motor. So there's 60 more horsepower from the V8, and there's 20 more horsepower from the electric motors.
It's cool that someone's building a supercar with a V8. The fact that you'd be like, oh, V12, V10. No, we're going to go with a V8.
Yeah, it's true.
Yeah.
It's true.
Yeah.
I don't know. Maybe that's McLaren's style.
Yeah.
Did McLaren have V12s?
I don't know what the F1... the F1 was pretty beefy engine. I feel like that was a V10. I don't know, though.
True.
Jamie, pull that up.
True. So it's really cool. If you are remotely interested in cars, you need to look this up. Look at the rear of this car. The rear of this car is one of the most insane rears of a car you've literally ever seen. And I don't say that lightly. So they've basically removed all of the panels on the rear. And it's obviously rear engine or mid-engine, but it's in the back. And so you can see the engine. If I'm driving behind the car, I can see it. The exhaust comes out. It's unfinished. It's a raw exhaust sticking out in the middle of the back. It's just sticking out. It looks absolutely insane.
It's like paying for one of those Swiss watches that doesn't have the face on
it.
Like you can see the inner workings.
That is exactly what it's like.
Yeah.
Exactly right. And so it's 45 kilograms lighter, which is somewhat negligible.
Yeah.
But where they've taken it from is good because it brings it to a lower center of gravity. So they've taken the glass roof and the engine cover, which were both glass, and that's replaced with carbon fiber. And then the windows, which are obviously usually glass in a road car, are now polycarbonate windows, which is race car spec with the little sliding bits. Which is cool. 10% more downforce than the regular P1, which is pretty awesome. 50 mil lower than the standard P1, which is getting very low. Rear wing is fixed instead of moving.
Yep.
And it's the full width of the car, which is about 100 mil wider than the regular P1. It has a really, really large carbon fiber front splitter and canards, which are those kind of like little pieces that stick out and basically just capture wind or it's not wind, capture air at the front of the car and apply downforce.
Are we talking about an extra splitter on the sides of the corners of the car?
Yeah, it's not necessarily a splitter. It's canard. And it essentially captures air in those sections to push the front of the car down to give you more downforce on the front tyres. And so it's got some bits and pieces like that.
I know what you're talking about.
Yeah, you've seen that. It's on a lot of time attack cars and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So the steering wheel itself is a pretty awesome thing. So it's one of these detachable racing steering wheels. Yep. And it's like a rectangle, right? It's not circular at all. So
like an F1 car.
Yeah, it's like an F1 car. Yeah. So some interesting buttons on the steering wheel is it has handling. So on the steering wheel, it has all of these functions. Drive modes, traction control, handling is separate. So it has wet, track, and race. That's it. It doesn't have comfort. Comfort would be track, I suppose.
Yeah.
You can put it in neutral there. You've got flappy paddles to change for the rest of the gears. Engine starts there. IPAS.
So hang on, go back to that neutral thing. It's got a button for neutral?
Yes.
Like is it like you hold it down and it's in neutral and then you let it go? And
it's a press and it's in neutral.
Yeah.
And then when you're in neutral, you can click down to go to reverse or you can click up to go to first.
That's so cool.
It is very, very cool. This car is probably the coolest car.
Yeah.
You need to watch a YouTube video on this car. If anyone here thinks they like cars, you need to watch this.
Well, no, just watch this podcast on YouTube.
True, and there'll be lots of great photos.
We'll put it right here.
So
put a video right.
It's got an IPAS button, which is a temporary boost of energy from the electric motor, which gets you past people on the highway.
Why weren't they doing that in the first place?
Yeah, I don't know. It has a launch control button, which would be insane. It has E-mode, and so it's pure electric driving, and you only get about 10 to 15 miles of range. And the idea is, it sounds like a gimmick, but the idea is if this was a car, like let's say you were loading it onto your car trailer, and you're loading it at 4 a.m. in the morning because you're going on a race day, you don't want to start this insane car up at 4 a.m. in the morning and all your neighbours hate you, so you just to put it in E-mode. So that makes actually a lot of sense. Interior changes, it has like these giant left and right switches in the middle, and they genuinely are giant in the middle console, and you click it, like you push it up, and that opens the door.
Yeah.
And it has a fire button. You can press that and all the fire extinguishers go off and foam goes everywhere.
That's so cool.
I wouldn't suggest pressing that. It's got a bunch of interior cameras, which one points towards the driver, one points towards the front of the car, one points back. And it all comes together in the system telemetry, and you can basically watch how you're reacting to certain corners, where you're looking, where your hands are, stuff like that. It's all for the avid driver, the avid race car driver. It's got no...
Really wants to see his reaction times.
Yeah,
and
like...
how... Yeah.
He's made so much money, all he thinks about now is becoming a good race car driver.
Yeah.
And so he just wants to see where's he's looking on this corner, or where his hands are.
Yeah.
where he's shifting gears or something like that. It's got no rear window at all. It's just carbon fibre. And so obviously it has no mirror either.
Yeah.
And inside the doors, it's just carbon fibre with a pull. Everything's exposed. There's no cover panels, so you can see the ECU and all of this wiring and everything just hanging out behind the seats. It's pretty insane. Infotainment system has one button, which is air conditioner, to turn it on and off.
Oh, I'm surprised it even has an air conditioner.
It has air conditioning, and that's it. It has heated windscreen, so it has these little coils that run through the windscreen, little tiny ones, and they heat it up. So if you're racing...
You'd need that for...
it's good for racing and stuff.
Yeah.
No storage, not a single... not a single piece of storage at all.
Yeah.
In the car, which is totally fine. Now, this leads me to my last point, which is you can get a roadworthy version of this GTR. So it's still the GTR version. It's not the standard version P1. And a company called Lazante, which sounds like an Italian company, but I'm not sure.
I was going to say it sounds like lasagna.
Yeah, it sounds like lasagna. They will convert your P1 GTR back to a street legal.
Okay, but what's the point at that stage?
Well, you need to watch a YouTube video.
I just want to know why you're not buying a P1.
Well, no, this thing looks insane.
Okay, so it's just because it looks... Okay.
And it still has all the features and functions of a race car, but I'll tell you the differences. So it does also cost you an extra $900,000 to do this change back to a street legal.
You pay $4 million.
$4 million plus 900 or 1.5.
Okay. Or you buy 8 Range Rovers and you use them all to tow it to the track. Do a different one every day plus a couple of days.
Okay, excuse me. So the conversions are windows need to go back to glass, and so they become powered again. ECU's remapped for pump gas, ignition key, because it doesn't have an ignition key.
Yeah.
It just has a start button. The doors don't lock or unlock, so you need to make them lock and unlock. The front axle has a lifter put in it, so you can get over a driveway or something like that.
Yeah.
The steering wheel adds another extra lock to the steering wheel.
Yeah.
In a race car,
so all these things are in here, making it heavier and worse. Yeah.
Yep.
Well, I mean, yeah, for the track, yeah.
Yep. Add a handbrake, replace the front headlights, and add a horn. And all of the original parts that they took out to do this also get sent back to the owner just in case they want to convert the P1, which was road registered, that went to a non-road registered P1 that he's taken back to a road registered P1. If he wants to take it back to a non-road registered P1, he can do that because he's got all the parts still.
It's a race car with extra steps.
So it is honestly one of the most insane cars I've ever seen, and you need to watch it on YouTube. Doug Demoro.
Oh, yeah. He's good.
He's very good, and he does a video on this one, which is where I watched it, and it is really just insane. So, yeah. I love it. I would definitely buy this car.
Yes.
I would
yes.
love to buy this car.
If you had $10 million, would you buy this car?
No, I don't think I would.
That's 40% of your money.
Yeah. I don't think I would. If I had... There'd be an amount of money
definitely
that I would need to have, and I would buy it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Cool.
52
left.
Oh, 52, yeah. No worries.
Oh, good timing.
Yeah.